Senator Langford, you are recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kane, you've spent a lot of time studying authoritarian regimes and how they use social media to be able to literally control their own populations. Chinese government obviously doing this with the Uyghurs and what they have done. In that case, you've spent a lot of time studying and going through. One of those features that's in TikTok, for instance, and in several platforms, is the permissions that's actually done there. When you join it, you use this free platform. The user gives ByteDance, TikTok, whoever it may be, the opportunity to be able to open their microphone, to use facial recognition, to be able to store data on that. How is that information used in an authoritarian regime?
An authoritarian regime such as China will attempt to get access to that data and use it to build artificial intelligence capabilities that might involve espionage, spying on military officials, government officials. This is a major Trojan horse that needs to be dealt with. And the Chinese government has made clear in its national artificial intelligence strategies that it does need data, that data is its biggest target.
Right. One of the things that I've seen from TikTok even recently is the ability to be able to keep up with keystrokes. If you use their app to be able to then go to other websites so they can then track your keystrokes, that would include credit card numbers, that would include passwords, user IDs, all of those things as well. Factual or not factual?
Factual. You are absolutely correct, Senator.
So they have made the statement publicly, well, we don't use that for any other purposes. We just maintain that. That is now owned by the Chinese government. At that point, if it's going through TikTok, they have access through that to be able to get usernames, passwords, facial recognition, everything else on this. So that's the building of a database system. This is not some hypothetical possible thing. This is actually occurring.
Precisely, Senator. This is occurring. This is the data so TikTok does gather large numbers of data, and there was one recent study by Citizen Lab, which does work on this, which found that TikTok does gather unusually large amounts of data from its users. There was the key logging software that was found recently and reported on. TikTok has said that they don't use this, but it's there, and if the Chinese Communist Party wants to get access to it, they have the power to do it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Red, I want to ask you a little bit about a value system. You have a unique perspective from coming from Twitter and then outside of it to be able to look backwards on this. It's unusual to me that Twitter is blocked in many authoritarian countries, but yet the leaders of those countries are allowed to be on Twitter and to be able to put out authoritarian propaganda, basically. They're still allowed to be able to do that. Twitter's value system seems to shift from country to country based on that country, even if that country blocks them from a platform. They're still allowed to be able to put out the propaganda from their platform. Help me if am I wrong on this? What have you seen?
So Twitter certainly is obligated to follow the laws of all the countries that it's operated.
Sure.
I think that's a consequence of what you're seeing.
But it also seems to be a patchwork of values in these countries, where in our country they'll say we really stand strong for this principle, but in another country they don't.
I think that's a fair characterization. Yeah.
So is that a problem long term, or giving authoritarian regimes a platform through that is just a matter of having customers there, even if those countries actually even block the use of Twitter in their country?
So I think the bigger problem is the consequences of their overwhelming incentive model. So that is probably a consequence, not being that deeply specific about that example of per country variation. That is a consequence of trying to get everyone to use the platform and then being subject to some constraints, whether it's local governments or some other constraints. I think the broader problem is the consequences of who sees what content and what that does to people in the real world as a function of the incentive structure that is created for these companies.